Good morning. Today we are here in New York to announce a historic arrest across a wide-sweeping criminal enterprise that envelops both the NBA and La Cosa Nostra. The men and women up here standing with me represent a small portion of the leadership team that brought profound justice in an era that needed it more than any.
I like justice when it's profound. I'm in favor of profound justice. We should be meting it out every day. That's FBI Director Kash Patel at the press conference today in Brooklyn, New York, about the big bust, ongoing investigation, dozens arrested. We got a head coach for an NBA team under arrest. And did I hear they're perp walking him, or they perp walked him? We've got, apparently there are no longer 5 Italian mafia families in New York, only 4, but they're great old names from the old days, I've got to say. The Gambino family, remember Carlo Gambino? You know, that's when things ran as they were supposed to run. The Genovese family, the Genovese organized crime family. The Lucchese family and the Bonanno family. Joey Bananas, you know, you got the classic names from New York City's mafia past. You know, Sicilian mafia, Italian mafia, La Cosa Nostra. It's pretty amazing stuff. And I've got more audio from the FBI director that I wish to share with you. The Fox News people, they've got a story. FBI Director Kash Patel alleges NBA gambling scheme involved tens of millions of dollars. Italian mafia. The fraud is mind-boggling. That's the caption underneath, and isn't that amazing? And that's the people at the Fox News channel on the story. And it is, you know, the NBA. I got to say, I never bet on an NBA game in my life. Never looked like a good risk. I sized it up, but NBA legend Chauncey Billups. He was a player before becoming a coach. And the Heat's Terry Rozier, Rozier, arrested as part of FBI gambling probe. They love a good probe, especially an ever-expanding probe. The FBI will have a press conference later on Thursday, and now they've had that press conference, I believe. Portland Trailblazers head coach Chauncey Billups, Miami Heat guard Terry Rozier, and former NBA guard and coach Damon Jones were among 34 people arrested as part of a widespread FBI investigation on Thursday. Fox News Digital confirmed. The investigation was tied to a probe into members of La Cosa Nostra crime families. I got to tell you, those guys ran a tight ship. There weren't a lot of mass shootings at backyard barbecues and things like that. As long as you behave, everything's going to be okay. But day in, day out, this FBI following the money. Isn't that great? Today's the result of that outstanding work, said FBI Director Kash Patel. Now, let me get to some audio here because this matters. And NBA legend Chauncey Billups, Heat's Terry Rozier, arrested, part of a probe. It's a major probe. Washington D.C. A lot of probes in Washington D.C. I've noticed. All right, let's get back to the audio. Gambling, big time poker games, and I guess some of these NBA people were involved in the big time poker games too. And perhaps the big time poker games were run by people affiliated with the Bonanno family, Lucchese family, the Genovese family, the Gambino family. And I got, the gambling and the women, but the drugs, that's dirty business. Because who said that now? That's right. Marlon Brando, that's who. All right, let's get back to the audio of the FBI director. And honestly, it is a little bit Corleone family. And the Democrats, I've talked about this before, the Democrats they try to legalize everything. They call prostitutes sex workers because they want to legalize prostitution so they can tax it. They legalize pot, marijuana, pot store 2 blocks from the White House. I was talking to you about that yesterday. Police officer, a friend of mine, shot a selfie of himself in front of the pot store 2 blocks from the White House with all their pot store signs all over the front of the building and stuff. And the Democrats, they legalized gambling. We got casinos everywhere now in Maryland. Got the Indian casinos and all the casinos. We got the MGM casinos down here and casinos everywhere because the Democrats get their piece of it. They wet their beak just like the Corleone family. And the pot is legal because they get their piece of it. The state does, the statist, and it's Democrats driving all of this. And just like the Corleone family controlled gambling and women, that means prostitutes, and they got their piece of it, of all that action. Now the Democrats legalized pot, they get their piece of it. Legalized gambling, they get their piece of it. And they're looking to legalize prostitution with what they call sex workers, so they get their piece of it. They are the Corleone family. This is what Corleone, Vito Corleone, he didn't want that drug business, that dirty business. And then, remember, Sonny, you have it right there. And Sonny said, a lot of money in that white powder, Pop.
I believe this drug business is going to destroy us in the years to come. I mean, it's not like gambling or liquor or even women, which is something that most people want nowadays, and it's forbidden to them by the Bets and Avanti of the church.
See, it's like that. And now the Democrats, they legalize the gambling. They want to legalize the sex workers. And they are the Corleone family. They're legalizing drugs. In fact, Mom Donnie wants to legalize heroin and opioids in New York City. They are the Corleone family. These used to be the bad guys. Although the Corleone family, there was a lot to like about the Corleone family, too. But that's another discussion for another day. And the Democrats, they're taking over where the mafia left off. They got the gambling, they got the drugs, they got the women, and that's organized crime, what we used to think of as organized crime. Now the Democrats think of it as good government. You know how they are. Aren't they amazing? All right, back to Kash Patel. Because Kash Patel at the press conference in Brooklyn, New York today, laying out what they've been busy doing.
As you now know, individuals such as Chauncey Billups, Damon Jones, and Terry Rozier were taken into custody today. Former, current NBA players and coaches. What you don't know is that this is an illegal gambling operation and sports rigging operation that spanned the course of years. The FBI led a coordinated takedown across 11 states to arrest over 30 individuals today responsible for this case, which is very much ongoing. Not only did we crack into the fraud that these perpetrators committed on the grand stage of the NBA, but we also entered and executed a system of justice against La Cosa Nostra to include the Bonanno, Gambino, Genovese, and Lucchese crime families.
It's Lucchese, not Lucchese. Everybody knows the Lucchese family. Come on. And the Bonanno family. I got to say there's something romantic about the names of, the Genovese family and the Gambino family, Carlo Gambino. Everybody remembers Carlo, right? And that great stuff. The FBI director today in Brooklyn, New York.
The charges and the arrests that were taken down across this country range from wire fraud, money laundering, extortion, robbery, illegal gambling. This FBI will leave no room for any perpetrator of crime across this country. You hear a lot about our work of defending the homeland and crushing violent crime. Well, this work is also representative of a colossal portion of the FBI's mandate to keep America safe and to keep our entertainment industry fair and secure.
Fair and secure. That list that he gave sounded a lot like the Democrat Party on any given weekend, didn't it? Then they got the drugs, the prostitutes, the gambling. Sounds like the Democrat Party just doing their normal stuff. The FBI director is Kash Patel.
The men and women that are standing up here today worked tireless hours, days, months, and years. And the fraud is mind-boggling. It's not hundreds of dollars. It's not thousands of dollars. It's not tens of thousands of dollars. It's not even millions of dollars. We're talking about tens of millions of dollars in fraud and theft and robbery across a multi-year investigation.
Hey, let's corrupt the NBA. What do you think? Let's target NBA. Who's taking the lead? I want to know. I want to see who they say they've got: the Bonanno family, Lucchese family, and Genovese and Gambino. I want to know who's running those families. I hope they're like the grandsons and, God forbid, the granddaughters of the OGs, the original gangsters. This is the only time OG actually legitimately applies. Isn't that amazing? So, big-time stuff. They got to, where is Rudy Giuliani? You got to call Giuliani in because now the media will attack Rudy Giuliani and say, oh, I thought you folded up the Gambino family. Hey, it's New York, The FBI director, Kash Patel.
It takes courageous prosecutors to stand before you and say, we will not allow this kind of illicit activity to happen, not only at the national sporting level, but also where it hides in La Cosa Nostra. And when these two collided together, they perpetrated a fraud that is historic in terms of not just money, but the scheme and the deceit that they utilize.
Yes, indeed. That's all true. And this is it sounds like a big stuff. And if you got all these organized crime families, allegedly, you got to say alleged, and the alleged organized crime families, and they're tapping into. They got coaches and NBA players, and tens of millions of dollars, and then you get the FBI to come in and ruin everybody's fun because they don't really spice up the party.
This is an operation that showcases to you that under President Trump's administration, there is no room for any type of criminal behavior, be it on the world's largest stage or in the back rooms of tiny parlors where guard games are being played.
Parlors.
We are proud to stand here
big
today with the men and women of the FBI and this legal team. And to the United States Attorney, I just want to thank you personally for taking the time to display the work that the media is about to hear about today in detail.
He said guard games, right? Guard games? I think he meant to say card games rather than guard games. But sometimes when you're talking fast, I know that can go.
As I said, it does take courageous prosecutors, but it takes a courageous United States attorney to bring this case because we are going to take heat for it. But we don't shy away in this administration. We don't say no. What we do is we bring the results across the finish line. We bring them to the public. We bring you accountability. And yes, they will have their day in court, and you will hear the evidence through the court system exclusively. We will not deny anyone of due process. And that's the brilliance of this system. That's the brilliance of this administration. Everyone will be held to account.
Everyone will be held to account. That's what a world. I got to tell you. The Real World is the best TV show going, isn't it? It's completely berserk. All right, let's grab a phone call, Michael. Talk to the nice American people. Let's go to David. Let's call David. Talk to David calling from Colorado Springs, Colorado. David, you're on the Chris Plante Show.
Hey, Chris, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can.
Yeah, I'm a longtime listener and Regent shipmate of yours.
Excellent. That's wonderful. We've sailed the 7 seas together. Second cruise ship sailing mate that I've spoken to today, which is great.
Yeah, my wife and I were watching this about the gambling indictments, and
yes.
We both looked at each other and said, Pritzker, didn't he just have a windfall in playing cards?
He did. He's a very talented card player, and he was in Las Vegas, and he won $1.4 million playing blackjack.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of a Goomba. What do you think?
Well, these guys are just crooked. He's crooked. There's no comparison, like as far as you could throw Pritzker, because nobody could throw Pritzker anywhere. But yeah, and he inherited what, $3.5 billion or $5 billion, depending on who you ask. But then he goes to play cards in Las Vegas, and he wins $1.4 million, and he's the governor of one of our 50 states. And nobody in the media bats an eye. They just say, "Oh, he must be a really good card player," and that's supposed to make sense to all of us, right, David?
Yeah, they're probably using that X-ray machine to make sure that he did win or something to that effect.
Right, some kind of Hollywood scheme, Hollywood trick that they put into place. Yeah, you're right. Governor Pritzker, Democrat, inherited billionaire, Democrat governor of Illinois, who may end up in prison, as so many Illinois governors do. $1.4 million playing blackjack in Las Vegas, and the whole news media is like, oh, that's just fine. And you think that'll make any difference now? David, I suspect that he's just fine. I don't think he's got a thing to worry about. That's what I think. Just crazy. And sea cruise. And David, you coming on our next sea cruise?
We're thinking about it. It's kind of being that area in the summertime kind of is questionable, but we're still thinking about it.
Trieste, we begin in northern Italy in Trieste, and a lot of great Montenegro and Croatia, and end up in Athens, beautiful Athens, Greece, wonderful stuff. Well, David, great call. Thank you very much. Great to hear your voice. Thank you for weighing in, and I know you'll make the right decision. I know you will, because you're Team America. We're all Team America here. From beautiful handcrafted steaks to delicious fall favorites, Omaha Steaks delivers the world's best steak experience. And right now, during their semi-annual sale, you can get 50% off the entire Omaha Steaks website at omahasteaks.com. Plus, because you hang out with me, our listeners get another $35 off with the promo code PLANT at checkout. Now, my best girl and I have talked about it before. We love our filet mignons from Omaha Steaks. We sear them up in my grandfather's iron skillet. It's classic, just beautiful steaks, beautiful skillet. And right now is the perfect time to stock up on the exceptional handcrafted flavor and convenience of Omaha Steaks. They also carry mouth-watering burgers and chicken and pork and seafood, and they have great desserts, too. You can bring home the legendary flavor and everyday convenience of Omaha Steaks by visiting omahasteaks.com for 50% off the entire website during their semi-annual sale. And for another $35 off, use the promo code PLANT at checkout. That's 50% off at omahasteaks.com. Another $35 off at the promo code PLANT at checkout. Terms apply. See the website for details. Yes, sir. A little get back check. It is a great planet when you talk to the right people and hang out with the right people. Then there are Democrats. Also, the Democrats continue to keep the U.S. government shut down. They're making money off of it somehow, and they're greedy for power. It's all about their own power. And have you seen the Democrat, one of the leaders in the Democrat Party in the House of Representatives, the whip? They call her the whip. Although Wolf Blitzer didn't call her the whip, did he? Catherine Clark, a Democrat member of the House of Representatives, she's the House Minority Whip. They love the whip, don't they? Goes back to the plantations with the Democrats. 12 Oaks, Ashley Wilkes, all that stuff. But I've got that coming up. Will you hear the hard-hitting interview that Wolf Blitzer didn't do? That's coming up, too. Now, the Democrats are keeping the government shut down. It's about their own greed and power and corruption. But the shutdown continues. We are now in day 23. And the news media is cheering it along, and they're pretending that somehow it's not Chuck Schumer and the Democrats, even though it is 100% on Chuck Schumer and the Democrats. The Schumer shutdown and all that. But we've got that going for us. And I want to play a soundbite for you because this one Democrat who's not a very bright woman, and they put her in the leadership of the House of Representatives, the Democrats did on the Democrat side. She is the Democrat House of Representatives Minority Whip. That's her title. She's got a whippy whip. And her name is Catherine Clark. She's a Democrat member of the House of Representatives and in the leadership. And she was doing an interview, and she screwed up and accidentally said a couple of things that turned out to be true, that American families are suffering because of the Democrat Party shutdown. And she explains that, look, we're not in charge of the House. We're not in charge of the Senate. We're not in charge of the White House. So the only power we have is to obstruct and to screw things up. And she says that it's leverage that the Democrats use, the government shutdown the Democrats are using as leverage. They keep pounding the table and saying the Speaker of the House needs to call the House back into session for no conceivable reason, because the House already passed the bill to keep the government open. Every Republican except Rand Paul in the Senate keep voting to keep the government open, to reopen the government now. And the Democrats consistently, 12 times now, I think, voted to keep the government shut down. And then their minority, the whip, the Democrat whip, Catherine Clark, explains they don't care if American families are suffering. This is leverage as far as we're concerned.
You don't think that the public will perceive that the Democrats are responsible?
I mean, shutdowns are terrible. And of course, there will be, families that are going to suffer. We take that responsibility very seriously.
No, you don't.
But it is one of the few leverage times we have.
One of the few leverage times we have. First of all, that's illiterate. She's not articulate. She's not bright. She's not a good leader. Of course, families are going to suffer, but it's one of the few leverage times we have. That's not very well phrased at all when it comes to the use of the English language. Isn't that amazing? And then something crazy happened. Today, people at CNN, they invited the Democrat leader in the House of Representatives. They invited him to come over to the studio and sit down with Wolf Blitzer so they could massage one another. And they got out the hot oil. It was a little weird, I'm happy to admit. But listen to this, because Wolf Blitzer played that soundbite of the Democrat minority whip, Catherine Clark, Congresswoman, saying, oh, sure, families are going to suffer, but it's one of the few leverage times we have. Played the soundbite, and there's Hakeem Jeffries, who's a jihadi and a communist, like Mamdani, and he hates America and he hates you. And Wolf Blitzer is sitting there, and note the complete absence of obvious follow-up questions that never appear, because when you're a Democrat, you get the full-body massage.
As you know, Leader Jeffries, the White House and the Republicans, they are seizing on this clip. Republicans say this is an admission that Democrats are using the American people as political leverage during this shutdown. You want to respond?
You want to respond?
Donald Trump is the president. Republicans control the House and the Senate. They've made the decision to shut down the government. And they are the ones who consistently have taken adverse actions, made clear that they want to hurt the American people during this shutdown that they've created, and they refuse to reopen the government because of their unwillingness to provide affordable health care to everyday Americans.
So that is a pack of filthy communist lies by Hakeem Jeffries. And Wolf Blitzer, now Wolf Blitzer certainly at that, but he's like, well, wait a minute, Leader Congressman Jeffries. It's the Democrats that are voting every time to keep the government shut down, and the Republicans universally, except for Rand Paul, which wouldn't change the equation, that are voting to reopen the government. And that's naturally what Wolf Blitzer said right there, right? Because the obvious follow-up is to push back. We're holding our politicians' feet to the fire. And you got to say, it's the Republicans that keep voting to reopen the government, and Democrats keep voting to close it down. And so Wolf Blitzer's big follow-up question never came.
On another very sensitive issue,
just move on.
Your home state
he
of New
throws
York,
out all those lies.
New York City.
He throws out all those lies, a long string of anti-Republican lies. Oh, they closed the government down. They're the ones who, and Wolf Blitzer is not so stupid that he's thinking, oh, gosh, I don't know how the Republicans are voting. Are they voting to shut the government down? Are they voting to, because the Republicans are voting, except for Rand Paul, to reopen the government every single time. And it's all in the Senate, not in the House. The House already passed it, although Jeffries, the communist jihadi, he did everything he could to obstruct. And then he just throws out this pack of Democrat Party talking point lies. And Wolf Blitzer says, all right, next question. And that's it. There's no, well, wait a minute. It's the Democrats voting against reopening the government, isn't that right? And there's no challenging the Democrats. Just a deep-throated adoration, an act of journalistic gratification performed upon Hakeem Jeffries by Wolf Blitzer there, an absolute disgrace and embarrassment.
The White House and the Republicans, they are seizing on this clip.
Yeah, they're seizing. Well, you mean they're quoting her accurately? Here's the videotape of what she said, saying that we're using it as leverage, and the shutdown we're using as leverage. We know that families are going to be suffering because of the government shutdown, but we're not going to reopen the government. And when you go on as the Democrat leader, the crooked criminal Hakeem Jeffries, and you go on CNN and sit down with Wolf Blitzer, you get the foot massage, you get the oily back massage, you get the happy time. It is just amazing. Not a single follow. Just lets them say all that are obvious falsehoods, and then Wolf Blitzer just moves on to the next Democrat Party talking point. And here's another thing the Republicans did that is bad. Now that we're stacking them up over LaGuardia here, isn't that amazing? Now, the Vice President of the United States is J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance, we didn't even play that audio yesterday of those idiots. What was it, the View or wherever? Democrats attack. Oh, yeah, Jen Psaki, that's who it was, attacking J.D. Vance and attacking J.D. Vance's wife because these, street hookers that call themselves journalists. Here's Vice President J.D. Vance talking about the Democrat shutdown.
They say we're not actually trying to give health care benefits to illegal aliens, and here's why it's not true. There are two Biden-era programs that explicitly gave the taxpayer health care money to illegal aliens that we turned off when President Trump took over in January. Program number one is there's a lot of emergency health care at hospitals that are provided to illegal aliens. The second of which is the Biden administration gave mass parole to millions upon millions of illegal aliens. And then they simultaneously made those parolees eligible for health care benefits funded by taxpayers.
Yes, and so they trick you. They have these schemes, elaborate schemes. Well, Obamacare was a big scheme from the get-go 15 years ago, whatever it was, and Obama knowing that they could never fund it. So they'd have to come back for $1 trillion more here and $1 trillion more there, and they just put it on the national debt because their long-term goal is to bankrupt capitalism and to topple the United States of America because they're not liberals, they're the left. They're not on our side. Barack Obama is not on our side. He's never been on our side. He's on the side of the international left. He's a massive wanker is what he is. But speaking of massive wankers, there's another Democrat in the House of Representatives who has a name that's not actually a real name, but she's a Democrat member of the House of Representatives, and like so many crazy Democrats, this one is just berserk. Her name is Jolanda Jones. It's like Yolanda, but with a J. I'm going with Jolanda because the English language is my friend. Jolanda Felicia Jones. She's an attorney. She's a politician. She's a television personality, according to this. And isn't that amazing? She's a Democrat in the House of Representatives from Texas, an absolute disgrace. And she's concerned that maybe her district will be gerrymandered out of existence, which sounds like a good idea, at least in America and Western civilization. But listen to this. She's very angry with Republicans, and she's about violence. It's always violence. And somebody's punching somebody in the face. She doesn't want to punch him in the face. Then she uses her hand to make like a knife and does the slashing gesture across her throat and says, because we're going to slash their throats. Here is Democrat Texas Congresswoman Jolanda Jones.
I'm from the hood, okay? So when a bully comes, if there are no rules, you literally have to figure it out. So if you hit me in my face, I'm not going to punch you back in your face. I'm going to go across your neck because we can go back and forth fighting in each other's faces. You've got to hit hard enough where they won't come back.
And she's doing the slashing mark with a knife-like hand gesture across her throat. She's a ghetto gangster who sounds like a criminal or a wannabe criminal. And the news media loves it because they're Democrats. And this is not a civilized political party. It's not a civil political party. It's an uncivil war that they're waging against the great people of the United States, America, and our country and our Constitution. And they always talk about it's the end of democracy, and that they're projecting once again, aren't they? Yes, they are. Speaking of being a danger to our culture and to society, there is another Democrat member of Congress named Robert Garcia. Robert Garcia. And Robert Garcia, he's a wacky Democrat, and he's, again, one in the leadership as well, Robert Garcia. And he is threatening ICE, federal agents, and law enforcement. He is putting together this tracker, an ICE tracker, and this is threatening to federal law enforcement, and the Democrat Party is fine with all of this because they're a violent gang of criminals. Ranking member Robert Garcia launches investigation into DHS, Department of Homeland Security. And wait a minute, how can you do that? You don't have control of committees. Now they're pretending that they're in charge of committees and stuff. Isn't that amazing? Now, the Democrats. Here is Democrat Congressman Robert Garcia on how the Democrats are putting together an ICE tracker to endanger and threaten the lives of federal law enforcement.
Over the course of the next couple of weeks, the Oversight Committee will be launching on their website a master ICE tracker.
Master?
Where we're going to be essentially tracking every single instance that we can verify that the community will be able to send us information on, and it'll be all available in one central place. And you'll be able to look up that information as it relates to Los Angeles as well.
As it relates to Los Angeles as well, to track to endanger. Now, this happened just a week ago, or maybe as much as 2 weeks ago, where Democrats were caught tracking ICE agents as they were arresting criminals. And the criminals that call themselves Democrats, including criminal Democrat members of Congress, are trying to threaten the lives of federal law enforcement who are out there enforcing the laws as passed by Congress. But now these members of Congress, who are third world tree dwellers in so many instances, they come up with these ideas. The Washington Times has the story, and the Washington Post doesn't. Stephen Dinan at the Washington Times and Mary McHugh Bell have the story. Democrats escalate anti-ICE efforts, devise strategies to blow the whistle on officers. Sure, Democrats are ramping up their confrontation with ICE, with one member of Congress announcing a plan to run a tracker to reveal officers' actions, and the New York Attorney General setting up a tip line for leads to investigate agency operations. They're literally anti-law enforcement. They are really something. Letitia James, who's a communist and a racist, said she wants New Yorkers to turn over videos of what they witnessed this week after U.S. Immigration Customs Enforcement personnel swept through Chinatown. Forget it, Jake, it's Chinatown. Meanwhile, Representative Robert Garcia of California, naturally, the senior Democrat on the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee, but he's on the minority. He doesn't control the committee, and they're pretending that they're holding hearings and having investigations when they don't have the political power to do that, the authority to do that. They make it up. He's announcing plans to host a master ICE tracker. You know, master is about slavery, and the Democrat Party is about slavery. You can't have a master bedroom or a master bathroom, but he's got a master ICE tracker. Oh, sure. He's the one who said it when it's quitting time on Capitol Hill. The master ICE tracker tool, you're the master ICE tracker tool, Garcia, on the committee website. The tracker would allow people to report agency movements and operations nationwide. That's what the Democrats are doing. They're endangering law enforcement. They got members of Congress doing it. They're in charge of violence and crime, and they're not on our side. Yeah, the anti-ICE tracker. Democrat Party. These people should be charged with crimes. They're engaged in criminal conspiracies against federal law enforcement and against the federal government. It's an insurrection. It's the dictionary definition of an insurrection. And Wolf Blitzer is not going to do a segment on it.
I was the foreman. I was the one who says when it's quitting time of terror. Quitting time! Quitting time!
Now, our absurd media, the most corrupt institution in America, such amazing stuff. I'm not even going to get to the ICE head, Todd Lyons, who said that what Congressman Robert Garcia and the Democrats are doing is like giving a hitman a map to come and kill your people. You know, the Gambino family's got nothing on the Democrats. Isn't that amazing? But let's go to this guy. What's he supposed to be, a presidential historian or something? John Meacham on Morning Joke this morning. They're very, very upset that President Trump is putting a ballroom, no taxpayer dollars being spent, on the White House. Very, very angry about this. And apparently, according to Meacham, he's such a great historian, he knows that this is why we fought the Revolutionary War, because we didn't want the British putting a ballroom on the White House, which didn't exist.
So much of the controversy here might be settled if, for instance, he actually paid attention to norms. Bring in the National Trust. Bring in the White House Historical Association, a wonderful group. Do this with some sensitivity to the fact that you're not a king. You know, you can't just do what you want to do when you want to do it. That's an adolescent response. That's actually not fair to adolescents, right? That's infantile. You know, just to do it because you can is in some ways a definition of why we had the American Revolution.
Ah, yeah, because nobody wanted to see a ballroom in Washington, D.C. That's why we had the American Revolution. That is not why I'm not a presidential historian being paid gobs of money by the networks to offer my presidential historian smarts, but that is completely and utterly ridiculous. That is not why we had the American Revolution, not by any stretch of the imagination. These people, I cannot believe that it's been 3 hours. What happened? How does it happen like this? Just amazing. That's not why we fought the American Revolution. And the news media is upset today that the ballroom is going to cost more than originally thought because it's Washington. And it's still not being paid for with taxpayer dollars. But I think the Democrats are going to set this on fire before it's finished. I'll put $1 down on that right now.